All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Guardians Unplugged. Today, I am joined by my good friend and a brother, Jackson Kiok. Jackson Kiok is a policy researcher, he's an analyst dedicated to advance sustainable development through informed dialogue and evidence based policy making. His work spans, environmental conservation, climate change, and the protection of natural capital, with a focus on translating research and technical insights into practical policy solutions. Currently, Jackson is leading the policy component of the TEB Agri Food Program in Kenya, which he will talk in much details at the Strathmore Natural Capital Hub. He also takes a proactive role in various technical working groups that support county governments in shaping policies and reviewing national programs. Jackson, as well, confidentially shares his insights on international platforms such as the Africa Asia Youth Forum, where he advocates decisively for an inclusive and forward looking approach for environmental issues. So that's a little bit about Jackson, which I haven't covered in much details. He will talk more about it in a little bit. We are so much honored to have you today, Jackson. Thank you for making the time. I know you're one of our co-hosts in this platform. Today, the discussion will be mainly the following up on the series that we started on Get to Know Your Host. So we already did a segment about myself, but today we will get to know Jackson more. So thank you for being here, Jackson. Maybe to just get us start off here, Jackson, just tell us a little bit about yourself, your school life, your upbringing in Sekenani, which I mean we grew up together. We share the same stories, and perhaps you can emphasize on of course, your university level education, and talk a little bit about your career course at the Technical University and why you chose international relations and diplomacy. So yeah, over to you, Jackson.
Well, thank you, Sam. I was born and raised in the Greater Plains of Masai Mara. There was a village well renowned for its hospitality called Rekishili village. So that is where I was born. Went to Sekenani Primary School. Did all my primary education there up to the year 2013. 2014, couldn't join high school due to some inevitable circumstances, but the following year, I joined Moi Secondary School, Niagara. Finish, and then I joined the Technical University of Kenya in 2019. But allow me to go back to the year 2016 because I think this will be relevant to my university life. Around 2016, you remember we had an invitation by the then chief scientist of the at UNEP, Professor Maglet, who is currently my boss, to visit Gigiri. We played football there for I think a couple of days.
Yep, I remember
And
that.
yeah, I think at that point, that is where the dream of pursuing the career that I chose was conceived. I remember you and I were, I think after the game, we were sitting somewhere on the field, and then we were seeing, I think by then there were around 194 nations. So there are flags, from the gate up to the entrance, from the gate all the way to the hallway. So I told you I would like to aspire. At this point right now, we on the other side. We're just playing football, but we don't have access, to the main premises. But I would love, to do something that pertains, to what is going around those facilities. And went back, did my very best, consulted with a few of my teachers. And then there were these students from universities. I think they were from USIU, a number of them also from Masemara, so who visited the high school that I was in, and giving out these talks and all that. So there was this gentleman who stood up and said, who here would like to pursue international relation, and I stood up, and he said, and may God give you that. Long story short, the grades, well, we did our exams, the grades were very good. Decided to pursue the same. I decided to pursue a Bachelor of Arts in International Relations and Diplomacy. And in January 2019, January 2020, on 19th of January, we visited Gigiri. This was a Holocaust commemoration. We're much aware that this is an activity that happened due to some of the historical injustices that were done to the Jews, sometimes back. To make sure that such activities don't repeat, itself. Because I was watching a movie not so long ago, and there is a tendency in which that we are being told that your history doesn't matter, your heritage doesn't matter, but how can you, in order for people not to repeat some of the injustices that were being targeted toward a certain group, ethnic group, among others, we need to remind ourselves of this issue so that it will never happen again. Not in any way trying to instigate certain things, but to ensure that we don't forget certain things. So while I was at the premises, this is in 2020, and not so long ago. This is right now, I'm inside the premises. 2016, I was outside. Let me tell you, man, I almost shed a tear.
I know
it was
that
a dream
feeling.
come. Yeah, it was a dream. It was a dream come true. Long story short, I think COVID happened. All the schools were closed. All public places. There was that the coronavirus pandemic and all that. And I think to me, COVID was a turning point in my life. Because as you know this, I didn't spend a lot of time in secondhand. I was with my uncle. And yes, I was in school, but the institution at that point, this is something that happened abruptly. We did not the infrastructure of online teaching wasn't in place. Nobody for Southeast, so we were not in school. So I spent a lot of time helping some of my cousins in the what's it called? Because they were in high school. So I did some tutoring. While I was doing that, I started engaging in some other activities, such as I started doing online writing and other things. Because I think you and I, we're very much familiar with the concept of that. You should always be doing something, even if you're meant to, your day-to-day active job or something is not happening. Find something to engage your mind, because what do they, they say something about an idle mind is, correct. So I started engaging in that activities, and this is in because I want to bring out a certain very important element of how I got here, and how you and I started doing this thing. I think the Bible says, okay, I do not just to confess it, I don't wear my Christianity on my sleeves. I don't really tell you into details. I can't quote the scripture in my head, but I know what it is, because again, I'm a religious person. I think the Bible says, I think this Habakkuk, that I think 2:2, you write something in bold and then it will surely come to pass. I had my small Huawei phone. Okay, not small, but it was a Huawei phone. The screen was cracked.
At that time, it was a big phone, man.
So the screen was cracked, very cracked. And I remember my classmates in campus used to tease me that, at this point, I don't think when you go to do biometrics, your thumbprint don't work, and they highly doubt it if it works. Anyway, so I started writing some things down that I would love to at some point in my career, to live alone, have my own apartment, to do certain things, because you're very much much aware why that is the case, and and I wasn't seeing anything. It wasn't that of course my family were not capable of affording an apartment for me alone, so I lived with some of my friends back then. But I always wanted to be, to have my own space, because there were so many things that I wanted to do, but the environment at that point could not allow me to, to get some things done. But because of the economic situation at home, of course, you had to bear with the situation. And luckily enough, and then we came back. I remember during 2020, I came to your place when I was doing my exams, and then went back home. But the following year, the situation became unbearable. And I
And-
prayed to God. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, and I mean, thank you for providing that quick overview. I know it's a bit of a challenge, especially for
Mm,
students at that level, being in college and going through all these kind of challenges. What kept you going? I know we shared all these challenges together.
yeah.
We talked about it as we grew up. While
Yeah.
you were at technical university, how was it? I mean, how did you, motivate yourself to keep going, to stay on track, to stay focused?
Yeah.
What kept you going?
I will. So I had a friend called Skimonge or Emmanuel, but we call him Kim. But what we do, you from not so you're from the rural part of this country, and then you come and change your name. But I mean that's so we used to call him Kim. So Kim was he was a third year when I was in first year. I told him, man, the situation that I am currently is becoming unbearable, and I don't want this thing to continue, because at the end of it all, I'll graduate, but I don't want to get very bad grades and say that it's because of the situation that I was in. No, I had to do something. Because one thing that motivated or kept me going is that I knew that, and I'll come to this, that the grades alone will not be sufficient.
Yeah.
I needed something, especially the career that I chose, because you remember this very well, that when I chose to do international relation and diplomacy, people were of the opinion that that course belonged to a certain class of people. But I'm like, as long as they are not doubting my capabilities to do it, I'll worry about my job when I get there. So at this point in life is one step at a time. So I knew that something has to change. So because one of my lecturer, of course, at some point called me up. When what's happening? Because again, these things you see through students. Teachers see these things through. You see a student not acting, or not being contributing to class as he ought to be. So they started getting concerned, and so I went to church on 31st of May. Is it 31st or 30th? Around there. Does May get us up to 31st?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so it's 31st. Because I
Yeah.
remember it was in Parklands, Jubilee Christian Church. Let me tell you, buddy, I did not even utter a word. I cried the whole time praying to God, because, I mean, God, you've been faithful from the very beginning of my life. And I don't think I'll get to this point and then, something has to happen. Because the dreams that I have, what I want to do for my family, for myself, for the community that I came from. we didn't come this far to just drop things off. So I went home. I wrote a letter. When they say faith work, it does. I wrote a letter to someone out there. Wrote something very well detailed. I sent to my uncle. Say, you work in a certain industry. I want you to just send it. Believe me, on 1st of June in the evening, because I remember it was around on
And which
Monday,
year was
Tuesday.
this? Which year was
This
this?
is in 2022. No,
22.
21.
Oh, 21. Okay.
Because we just immediately after COVID.
Yeah, right after COVID. Yeah.
Right after COVID. So this was in 2021, around June. So I got a message, a WhatsApp message from someone from Switzerland. Man, that was something. If I hear people saying that, have you ever seen God? To me, that was God. For lack of a better word. And we talk with the person. Her name is Reta, and she was able to support me, especially when it comes in my living situation. I was able to move out, get my own place, and this is very ideal. Not ideal, but it's very it was a coincidence, because I think that is when you left.
Yeah, that's when I came. Yeah,
to the US. And of course, you knew that I always wanted to be in my own space, because you visited me where I was. The situation wasn't very, very ideal. And and I was able to move out. I was in my own space for until through university. And at that point, I was able to engage in some extracurricular activities, because as I mentioned earlier, that I knew that my grades will not cut it, especially to the in regards to the field that I chose. So I had to engage with a lot of activities and thesis through certain organization. One of them is called Interregion Economic Networks. I ran, whereby we did lots of hackathons as students. We traversed various parts of the country, so it was a great exposure for me. There was also an Actors Kenya, which I served as the vice president while I was at the Technical University of Kenya. So, those two agencies or organizations really played a key role to into building some of the activities that I engaged in during my university life.
Okay.
Because we didn't have a lot of classes. You might have a class from 2 hours a day, but what are you doing for the rest of the day? The rest of the day. So we did a lot of activities, and I also got involved with a fellowship called the United Nations Academic Impact, on raising awareness on early girl pregnancies, because these are certain issues that has affected us as a community, use of drug abuse, among others. So I did that fellowship for around 4 months, I believe. Also, through the enactors, there was a project that we're engaging, because at that point in time in Kenya, there was lots of cases on mental health around university, students. So we did a project with Colgate, East Africa, Palmolive, on what is the relationship, the correlation between oral health and mental health among university students. And we impacted around 1,200 university students and staff. I led the competition, and we emerged second nationally. Around the competition was about with 15 universities. Toward my end of my university life, I also got engaged. I did with the electoral body in Kenya, the IBC. I did as a photo educator in Narok West. Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
and
so you
also
will say,
ultimately my internship at the Ministry of East African Regional Development. So
yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
in a nutshell. I don't know
So
if it is in a
basically,
nutshell.
you will say, the what kept you going basically is from what I'm understanding from you is the
Yeah.
fact that you prayed to God, you put your vision on the board, you reached out to potential support from your uncle, but also you used your free time to engage in a number of extra curriculum activities by doing internships and being very, very active. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Now let's transition out. You did a bachelor's in international relations and diplomacy, which is uh, quite a little bit different from what you're doing currently. So, what made you to pivot towards what you're doing currently, which is policy research and analysis? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question because I've been getting that one a lot. And I would like to clarify something that international relation and diplomacy is a very broad field. So, but I chose it has many aspects, and the aspect that I chose was on environment. And this majorly, the fire, we can say the fire was ignited during one of my course units. It was called International Regimes, and then there was this lecturer, Mr. Muliro. So international regimes, there's trade, there is environment. So when we're talking about environment, I always tend to lead the discussion. So there was a way that we used to introduce ourselves in class because, he used to say that, assume that in the future you choose the career of being a diplomat and all that. So you treat a class as start, yes, as if you're in ANCA or something. And the whole concept of and on environment sparked. That spark, ignited at that point. And I later, in my fourth year project, I chose to do a project that aligned to environment, and that is on climate change. The topic was analyzing Kenya's climate change mitigation strategies. How responsive were they? And the case study was in Kajiado County. But along the way, when I was about to finish my research, I got a job. That is my first research work in Kajiado County. There was an independent climate change researcher from the University of Oviedo in Spain. We did some field work in Kajiado County where we were analyzing the response of climate change among pastoral communities and some of the adaptive, traditional, or how are they responding to climate change. And one of the data collection method was focus group discussion. And as these questions, having come from that community whereby we take lots of pride in the number of cows and sheep and goats that we own, some of the questions in the questionnaire was, I approach the PI, and I think for us not to compromise the integrity of the data that we are collecting, I think we should choose a different approach, considering that the room was full of elders, women, and youth, and all that, and we wanted honesty, 100%. But in a group of 10, was this? Another one might own 400, another one might own 2. And it normally tends to interfere with the data that you intend to collect, because one will not be honest at that point. If he has 2 cows, he'll say, I'll have 50, just for the sake of for him or her to be feel, he's part and parcel of the, of the community and all that. So I chose to carry out this discussion in a very different format by engaging them one-on-one. So while I was speaking to this particular elder, he was very candid in the way that he told me that not so long ago I used to own a number of cows, a certain figure. But as you're speaking, I don't have. And if I have, it's one or two. And he told me, my child, if you are me, what will you do? He said, what I've resorted to, alcohol and all that as a coping mechanism because David, he is the breadwinner, and then you do not want to come and put this sad face in front of your wife and in front of your kids. So he said, take alcohol, come home at around midnight. And of course, you know how we grew up from that community. You tend to cause some chaos when you enter your homestead.
Mm-hmm.
And but he almost shed a tear. And that to me, I think that is something, changed. And I decided from that point on that I want to be part of, conversations, to lead conversations that and ultimately be able to design certain governance arrangement, either be it in response to climate change or biodiversity loss or any other matter, and craft certain interventions that will respond to the inequalities that these communities, go through. Because at times, because I've looked at these various climate change mitigation strategies that the government has come up with, but a number of times we assume that, what affects one region is the same thing that is affecting another region. We need what's called location-specific interventions.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening in Samburu might not be the same thing that is happening, county, for example, like Vihiga. Yeah. So these interventions, a number of times, very nice on paper, but actually when it comes to implementation on the ground, they tend to differ because what these people go through or what these communities goes through, they are different. And again, it's based on it's pretty. I don't want to say it's pretty simple, but it is as a case. Is our climatic conditions are not the same. So yeah, I know the government of Kenya is the work of the national government to design a certain strategy, and then counties take that and domesticate. So that is when my career I chose, to do this, and
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, of course, I led in that field work. I got to lead a group of almost 40 people. This include respondents, certain data assistants in parts of Kajiado. This is Rombo, between this is closer to the border actually. And I was I was also having a conversation with a group of women. You tend to see what they go through, because many of them were telling me that right now they are the breadwinners. I mean, so they wake up in the morning, travel all the way across the border to go and sell tomatoes, brokerage, and all that. Buy at a certain price, come and sell at a certain price. But this the danger that they go through. The Safo is just close by. The elephants on the way. So when you see these kinds of things that people go through, you wanna lead or ultimately, be part of these conversations, and that is what I'm currently aspiring to do. That I wanna, be part of it and ultimately lead these conversations, these policy processes across sub-Saharan Africa, to ensure that these global frameworks, be it, as I said earlier, on climate change, on biodiversity, or on agroecology, are actually adopted and institutionalized at the national level and the county level. But again, that this global framework should respect local structures and local knowledge. Yeah, because we are, for lack of a better word, our settings are different, and for certain things to work, the local people, the buy-in from the local communities is very critical. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know we'll come back at some point and talk about your work and also
Yeah.
talk in more details, because I want you to share about the organization that you're working for currently and some of the projects that you
Yeah.
guys are focusing on currently. But I want to go back to Kajiado, because you and I come from the Maasai community, and we tend to, not really tend to, we experience firsthand some of these
Yeah.
impacts from climate change, especially drought. We love the rain. Sometimes we're affected by floods, but we love the rain. But drought is a major issue. Can you talk about some of the solutions that you currently see and some of the key interventions that you currently, as you continue doing your research and continue doing your policy analysis, that some of these counties are adopting, and what recommendations can you offer?
Well, thank you. But can I speak about maybe what we're doing, and then that will lead to that conversation. But again,
Yeah.
and nonetheless, on top of my head, there are certain things that we can't run away from, and we need to be, counties need to be, pragmatic. Need to be adaptive to to certain responses, because and I think this is relatable to all of us, because as you said, we come from this community where the life of Carol is we hold very dear to. So, and the biggest challenges that we're facing at the moment is, of course, the impacts of climate change. And so what are some certain, some of the recommendation? Gone are the days. I know this might not land very well, especially to our father, that the other generation, is that things have changed. Gone are the days whereby we need to keep 100 or 1,000 cows just for purposes of prestige. Issues of land fragmentation, expansion of agricultural lands, and also there is the element of wildlife, livestock, human, coexistence. How can we exist, for example, in an ecosystem like, for example, the Mara, whereby the livestock, wildlife, and human coexist peacefully? Land subdivision is another thing that is currently ongoing, and there is the aspect of not the aspect that, again, if you say the coexistence of the three, wildlife, for example, don't they're not quite aware of these things. We've us or a village nearby has come, I come up, fence my land, electric and all that. Elephants, pass by, they end up, not only dying, but actually destroying that property. So what I'm trying to say is we need to be responsive. There are certain, based on science, certain quality of crops or livestock, that are climate resilient. But this is the thing, because again, going back to Kajiado, they mention a certain person, I might not be able to disclose the name, who is owning a certain kind of livestock, a certain different breed. But they said that, of course, we want to have that. We will have to. We need lots of teaching and lots of training on how we can adopt to this other way of livestock keeping. But do they have the knowledge, the training, first of all, the capital? it's expensive
Mm-hmm.
to start off. First of all, telling someone, your way of life, put it aside because it's not working for you. That needs a lot of, you know, the kinds of conversations that you'll have at that point is very critical. Because
Mm-hmm.
nobody is human to leave out, put aside livestock and try to do these things in a different way.
Yeah, it's hard to convince somebody to to do
Very,
that.
very, and our
Mm-hmm.
community, I think, yeah, it's very challenging. So
Mm-hmm.
they say, okay, if you show us the results, and the results are there,
Mm-hmm.
that if you do this, ABCD, these things, this will change, or you'll get a certain kinds of different output, rather than keeping the old way and you keep on incurring these losses. So
Mm-hmm.
there are different kinds of livestock crops, that are drought resilient that
Resilient.
people can adopt. But
Okay.
at the center of it all is governance, county government, and this is we're saying county government is because since the default system after the 2010 constitutions, a number of issues, for example,
Mm-hmm.
on agriculture and lands are default. Counties have the mandate on these issues, so they have the role to train through the extension officers, to train farmers, to train people on the ground on these new approaches. But for those new approaches to work, of course, we need certain policies to ensure that these things is actually institutionalized. And what are kind of other, because when you say policies, is there are things that we tell people to stop. For example, the use of certain pesticides.
Mm-hmm.
There are always crooks around. How can we protect our people from using certain pesticides that have been, for example, banned, that have an effect on the soil, effect on livestock? So I don't know if I've answered the questions. I think I've
Yeah,
tried.
you have. Those are very, very critical points
Mm.
that you've raised. Let's now come to the work that you do on your day-to-day basis. And you currently work for TIB Agri-Food Kenyan project. I believe it's in the project in collaboration with the United Nations and then Strathmore University Business School. Can you tell us about this project and what you're currently doing?
Gladly. So TIBS, that is the Economics of Ecosystems and Diversity, is a global initiative that began around the year 2007. And but to bring it in 2007, of course, there was an economic case on climate change. Economic case in the effect that you can put a number to the effects of climate change, but can you put a number to the effects on biodiversity loss? So a study was commissioned
Mhm.
in the year 2008, 2000, and up to the year almost close to 2000, and I believe 2012. But to bring it closer to home, now in Kenya we have what is called the TIB Agri-Food. A project, as you rightly mentioned, is being implemented by the Strathmore Business School as the implementing partner, and of course in collaboration with the United Nations Environment Program, that is UNEP. So the program is in 10 counties, but initially it was in around the Mau Forest complex.
What are some of those counties? Sorry to cut you short.
So the Mau Forest complex is being shared, is an ecosystem very critical, of course. It's being shared by around 6 counties.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Narok, Nakuru, Bomet, I believe part of Uasin Gishu as well, Nandi, and Baringo.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
About Kericho.
and Kericho.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Correct. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that actually 7. So this phase the project was expanded to cover close to 8.1 million hectares of along the Rift Valley, because it's now covering other two more other water towers. That is Charangani Hills, that is being shared by West Pokot, Elgeyo Marakwet, and Trans Nzoia. And again, we have what we intend, or what I normally refer to, little known to almost nobody, that is Loita Hills, is in Narok County, which is a very critical water towers. So the TIP framework is a holistic approach to understand what's called the hidden costs and benefits of our food systems. So food systems is the entire chain of from production, distribution, and consumption. And I think you and I or any other person might be very, very much aware of the role that agriculture plays on the economy. With the World Bank statistics providing close to 70% of the rural population and 40% of the entire population. But when we look at food systems, they play a critical role. Not a critical, but they have a role to play in environmental degradation, soil degradation, and of course effects of climate change. This is greenhouse gas emission. The agricultural industry actually worldwide produces more greenhouse gas emission compared to the transport industry. So it is in this effect that the TIP framework is trying to fill that gap by looking at some of the hidden costs and benefits of food systems. If we say hidden costs, these are issues, for example, like practices that pollute the soil, pollute the rivers, and biodiversity loss. So you put a number to it. This is through what's called scenario analysis and modeling. I might not get into that because I'm not a modeler, but I believe that along the way we'll bring someone who's working in the project to tell us a little bit more about that. So so that is what the project is doing, is trying to ensure that we transform our food system to ensure that to provide environmental sustainability and also community well-being. But, as you mentioned, I'm leading the policy component of it, which is very essential and very important, because as we try to put a value or to try to come up with a true value of nature in in our food systems, policy is very important, because we need to turn this evidence and knowledge into government, plans and strategies, because government speaks through policy, and this is very critical because we do this through policy consultation roundtables and dialogues, by conducting county consultations through the 10 counties, because again we are very much aware that no one size fits all. Every county has its own unique challenges. Every county has its own unique policy priorities and value chains among us, because we are very much aware that the TIP framework is not a standalone framework. What it actually does, currently we have in Kenya what is called the National Agroecology Strategy 2024 to up to 2033. So what actually the framework does is to actually adds meat to the board. It complements the strategy by ensuring that this strategy can actually achieve its desired output. How? For example, in two ways. If the TIP we make there's what's called making an economic case. For you to make an economic case, you need to quantify certain things. But I don't want to get into too much technicalities.
Oh, it's okay.
But
you can.
Yes. For example, what the government of Kenya at the moment is there is what you've heard of the subsidy program that is retailing at around 2,500 since it is subsidized. But what is and this is synthetic fertilizer. But what is actually the long-term ecological effect of that? Because it is not organic fertilizer. What is actually the long-term ecological effect that on our soil, on our health, and all that? Yeah. So what the TIP framework does, or will do, we be able to quantify that and tells you, this will be the effect on that. We are also much aware that there is the TIP framework also there is an element of cross-sectoral coordination, because matters of food systems is not about agriculture, is actually encompasses environment, health, water, and all that. By bringing all these stakeholders together, because food systems has a greater effect on, for example, on the chemical aspect, it has a bigger role to play on, farmers' health. So that is why the health department of the health ministry is very critical in this case. So that element of cross-sectoral coordination to ensure that the relevant agencies in matters food systems are brought together.
You've mentioned a number of interesting things from your program. Establishing an economic case and also policy development and integration. You've also talked about transforming food system. Why transforming food system? Why is this very, very important? And why do we need to continue having these policy discussions and consultations?
Well, it's because the current food system debates we have in the country are focused on market price, and subsidies, fertilizer and all that. But for our food to transform our food system to be more inclusive and to be able to respond to climate change, there is a blind spot, and that is what the TIP framework will fill in, because we need certain practices, as I mentioned earlier, that conserve our soil are not being rewarded. Likewise, the same practices that degrade our soil, for example, are not being accounted for. So that is the essence of us. That is what the TIP framework, will do to ensure that we fill that blind spot. Because traditional economic, decision making has been focusing on market price. For example, if I can ask you, what is what's the price of water? The one that is almost half a liter, for example, being 50 shillings or something, Kenya shillings. But is that actually the true cost of that? There is a whole element of accounting, because it has an accounting. The accounting structure of the TIP frameworks is called the true value accounting. Not an expert on that, but that is the accounting aspect of it.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. Maybe just in terms of the impact as we get closer to the end of this podcast, what are some of the impacts you've seen so far? And has the government been very receptive? Are these counties that you're working closely being receptive and willing to, to implement some of the key observations? Perhaps you can tell us what is happening currently. Are there any changes, impacts, or from the study that your project has been focused on? And these consultations, are there any fruitful
one thing that I'd like to mention is we are in the process of developing this recommendation or coming up with this evidence. But we are doing that. We are in consultation with key agencies to ensure that the kinds of recommendations or the output that will come up with, they feel part and parcel of it. So I will say they have been very, very, very responsive, and this is in a number of instances that I would like to mention. Is one of them that the program is actually being was co-opted into the National Technical Committee on Agroecology, the strategy that I just mentioned. There's a committee that overseeing the full implementation of the strategy. So the program is part of it. We've had very key engagement with top leadership at the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development. We have also engaged with the National Treasury, because making an economic case and that as all aspect of accounting, the National Treasury must be part and parcel of the process. So they have been actually responsive. We have conducted or we continue to consult with counties, because they are the biggest uptake of this process. Because of the devolved systems of government. They have been very responsive with their unique challenges. How can our data actually, or the results that we have, help them achieve certain desired outcome, be it in environment, be it in agriculture, and so on and so forth. So they're responsive.
That's good to know, because I know you and I have been talking about the challenges around policy
Yeah,
implementation,
yeah,
the challenges
yeah.
around partnership, collaboration between organizations with counties, and whether some of these key things that are being raised or being observed are actually being taken into I mean, with a lot of seriousness, and being actually implemented. Because I feel like most of the time we know how to talk, we know how to meet and consult and discuss, and
Yeah.
stakeholder meetings and capacity building, etc., etc. We have very well written documents, very well drafted frameworks with very powerful recommendations that, if implemented, could bring some impact. So I'm glad to hear that there is some level of response, and also reception by the counties on some of the key things that you've raised. So thank you for sharing. That is just very, very important work. I mean, I'm very sure me being one of them. Sometimes you just drink the water without even understanding the process that it took for that water to end up in that small 1 liter bottle. So understanding the economics behind the production and et cetera, is, I think, it's very, very important.
Yeah, it is. It is with sorry, the point on because you also engage in policy processes. I'll say, yeah, they are very responsive, but with these challenges as well, because
Yeah. Hmm.
some I do not know at what extent will I go into disclosing certain things.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
but
You don't.
this is common. It's public information anyway.
Hmm.
As I said, when you talk about certain, for example, food systems, is the health people must be present. Yeah, the water people must be present. The people who are responsible for in agriculture and environment must be present. But if it's very funny because they don't talk to each other. So because as you said, partnership and this program, it's always good for government to to come up with that unified front. Yeah, not everybody coming, I have my own issue, I have my own issue, but can you actually consolidate your issue so that if a program can address it, address it in a more unified way.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah. And I think
everybody.
I like at
Yeah.
some point you mentioned that
Mm.
as you continue focusing on your project, which is more agricultural, there is also cross-sectoral partnership. So I think
Correct.
that is
Yeah.
where you're honing your point, is
Mm.
that
Yeah.
there is a need for, and also within the county level, but also in the national level, which I think I mean, partnership is there because we read reports, we read documents. I think they still need to continue enhance and to continue streamlining that partnership, so that we are not working in silos. Department are not working in silos, and we are not duplicating efforts. So, if, for example, you're working in health, and there is some aspect to do with environment, there is a need to consult the environmental department, and bring everybody on board, including even the community. And I think that is something that the constitution has been pushing around public participation, which also it's a very, very important factor. So I think, I agree with
Yeah.
you strongly
I
that there
like
is a
the thing
need.
that you mentioned about. I like the thing you mentioned about community, involvement, is
Hmm.
because I've looked at, been analyzing, been researching on this number of policies in
Hmm.
Kenya, and I will. I don't know if this will go back to the point you're telling me. What are some of the recommendations that I would have to this? Is because is we have very good policies. I'll say, on paper, very well detailed. The policy targets are clearly well outlined,
Well defined, the indicators,
well
everything.
defined. Yes.
Hmm.
But actually, when it comes to implementation of the SEP, we face some bottlenecks. And this is, the blind spot on this is because of community involvement. Yeah, you can't sit in Nairobi and design a certain policy, hoping that the community will be receptive of it. And that's why we face these bottlenecks when it comes to implementation. They must be part and parcel of it. And what actually we are doing in the program is we're operating on the what's called co-design and co-production.
Core
You know,
development, yeah. Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
we co-design. We are not coming here or going to the community with the perception that we are all knowing. We're very well aware that they are the experts of experience.
Hmm.
We could
I agree.
design these solutions together. We could design these policy, options together, the scenario and all that. We could design with the community together. Because these results at the very end will have an effect on them.
And also at the implementation phase, they will be implemented at the community level. And,
Correct.
and
Yeah.
and for them not being aware and for them not being involved at the designing phase, I think it can be a little bit challenging for them to be willing to
Yeah.
be receptive to the
Yeah.
idea
Mm.
that you're trying to push into them. Well, thank you so much, Jackson. I know you've shared a lot to take us some time to digest and, and synthesize. Um, let's go back to now your plans. You've been working on this project now for quite a while. What are your plans going forward? Are you planning to go back to school? The reason why I'm asking this is, I want you to tie into this question is, you're a young Maasai gentleman. You've grown up in the Maasai Mara, and you are in this position right now, position where you're growing professionally, a position where you're, um, um, you're on the table. I know the stigma around the Maasai's with our level of education and all that. The last few years, I'll say many more than 20 years, is that we've started. Our parents have done a good job putting us through school, and we've started, you know, um, um, being on the table in terms of decision making, etc. So, as a young Maasai gentleman, I would like also for you to have some parting words to the young Maasai gentlemen and also women watching this podcast on how they can also work really hard to get to the level that you are in. And I know you are still growing, you're still young.
Um, this is I wouldn't yes, I've been involved for 2 years. Getting the third year in these policy processes for quite some time, and as you rightly mentioned that we come from a certain community whereby when you say your name, someone will look at you a certain way, and I've always people ask me why do I always introduce myself with my surname first. Why Kiok Jackson? Why not the other way around? It's because there's been a tendency to include O at the very end, and I do not have anything against our very good brothers and sisters from the Kamba Nation. It's just that I'm a very, I'm proud of, who I am and, where I come from. So I, want to keep that, you know, uh, uh, to the people that, it's always Kiok, not the other one. And there is, I know you and I can talk about this, until Carol come home, but
Yep.
there's no
Yep.
wisdom in doing that.
Hmm.
But there is a very interesting thing. What can I, not a thing, but I want to put it very right. There's a very interesting observation that I've come up with in policy development. What is called, it's called the element of misrecognition. Misrecognition happens is when certain community, their voices are not being included in the policy development. They say in quotes, public consultation was conducted somewhere, but was their input
On paper.
actually on paper? And we come from that community. This is based from some historical injustices that I mentioned previously. On the session on number 10, was it in 1963, that favored other economic regions compared, with the others based on the economic potential and all that. So until the default system of government, now we have the affirmative actions, we started seeing certain things, coming to people who come from the periphery of the very interior part of this country, and we are among, part of those people. So you get into these policy conversations, at some point you get struck a little bit. Yeah, so this is why certain things are. So this is how access to health, education, this is why we lack these things for a very long time. And as you mentioned, some of us who have had the opportunity by our parents doing the very best they could to get us through universities, how can we do our very best to ensure that the voices that we have, that our voices is being, being reflected? It's just not because you mentioned in my introduction that yes, I engage in these policy forums because every policy documents outlines how we are going to undertake stakeholder consultation. The community will be consulted, youth will be consulted, but these things are just symbolic. Yeah, they're just ceremonial. It's and until and when the youth voices of where we come from, their voices actually get translated into those policy statements, and then we can say we've won. But being invited to a policy consultation that is not it. It doesn't cut it until actually our concerns are being addressed. So yes, we do have a role to play in ensuring that we pave our way for. I don't know how I can say younger generation, still part of that younger generation, but I still have a role to play to ensure that someone who aspire to do certain things or get to a certain level can look at Sam or can look at me and say, he did it and it is possible. Because at the moment, I'm in various policy technical working groups, the National Technical Committee, the ISFA Law and Policy Working Group was part of the technical working group that helped Nakuru County came up with agroecology policy. So, and engaging in this forum like the Africa Nature Youth Forum. So, if you get an opportunity as a young Maasai to into these policy spaces, make it count. We've been doubted for quite some time, so show them. We always aspire to grow, to adapt, to to redefine our plans. This is in light to whatever the world throws at us. Of course, I aspire to be, as I said earlier, to lead and advance policy processes, not only in sub-Saharan Africa but globally, to ensure that these global frameworks are fully adopted and speaks the language of local, mwananchi, for lack of a better word. So, of course, still aspiring to go back to school and attain the highest academic accolades I can possibly can.
Yeah, and it's possible. I mean,
It is possible.
you have
You
come a
and I
long
know this.
way. Yeah, you've come a long way, and somebody who has
Thank you.
witnessed the journey, who has been part of the journey. I think the only word I can say here is that I'm really proud of you. Yeah, and
Thank you.
for our viewers, that has been Jackson Kiok. Thank you for making the time to be with us today. One thing that I wanted to remind folks is that this is not the last time you'll be seeing Jackson. Jackson is actually one of our co-hosts. We will be hosting this show together, but today we thought it would be great for him to share with us his journey, his experiences, the work that he's doing, but also share some wisdom here and there. And you can tell from listening to him is that the age is just a number. This gentleman is well experienced. He has grown significantly, and we are so delighted to have him today. So thank you so much, Jackson. I don't know if you have any comment as we close this podcast today.
No, nothing further. Just to tell our listeners to look forward to more productive and robust engagement, because we intend to bring you the very best. And yeah, so thank you for listening, and see you on the next one.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jackson. And I'll also look forward to having you back to continue to talk about the work that you're doing. I know there is a lot that we still
I'm
need to
back.
learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much. Thank you, our listeners. Please, as always, remember to subscribe. Please also share it widely, like, um, and we look forward to another episode. So thank you so much.